The series opens inside a movie theater, specifically in January 1962, where we see an employee approaching a young boy among the audience and ordering him to leave the screening immediately. Even though the boy is clearly too old for the pacifier he has in his mouth, the employee doesn't seem surprised at all. He's only concerned with the fact that the boy didn't pay for a ticket and that this isn't the first time he's done it. Terrified, the boy runs away and hides, but the employee keeps chasing him until he's forced completely out of the theater. Strangely enough, the boy is all alone, and he decides that he won't spend a single more day in this town. He stops a car carrying a small family and asks them if they're leaving the town, saying that he wants to escape it by any means possible. The mother replies that they're already leaving and tells him to come along with them. He gets into the back seat with the siblings, and that's when we learn that his name is Matty. While he's with them, he starts to notice that they behave in extremely disturbing ways. Even the way they eat is strange. But the biggest shock comes when he realizes that he's seen the town's welcome sign more than once within less than an hour. At first, he assumes it's just another town with the same name, but then he realizes they're actually driving in circles, stuck in the same place. Eventually, Matty loses his patience and urgently asks them to stop the car. Within seconds, they all suddenly transform, laughing in a bizarre, unsettling way, while the mother starts screaming even more horrifyingly. We then discover that she's pregnant, and the fetus is moving violently and unnaturally inside her stomach. Suddenly, her abdomen explodes, and a savage creature bursts out and attacks everyone. The mother tries to control it as if this is completely normal, treating it like a child who's simply being a bit difficult. Matty, on the other hand, desperately tries to escape and save himself by any means possible, but his attempts abruptly come to an end. The last thing we see is his pacifier floating in the water, with no sign of what actually happened to him. A few months pass, and in the same town, we meet a student named Lily as she opens her locker, causing a jar of pickles to fall out. It's clear that she's being bullied by her classmates until her closest friend steps in and tries to comfort her. Before we find out why the pickles are the reason she's being bullied, the story shifts to Matty's friends, Phil and Teddy. Through their conversation, we learn that Matty has been missing since the car incident. From the way Phil speaks, it's obvious that he doesn't really care whether Matty is alive or not, which becomes clear when he casually says that Matty is probably dead anyway. Teddy immediately lashes out at him for talking about their friend like that. At the same time, we see Lily at home, where we discover that she was also Matty's closest friend. We then learn the reason behind the pickle-related bullying when Lily flashes back to a memory of being with Matty in an abandoned, long-closed location. Even though she was confused about how he managed to get inside, she didn't question it. Lily remembers telling Matty that her father used to work at a pickle factory, and that one day she and her mother visited him there, but she forgot her toy. Her father went back inside to retrieve it and never came out again. Later, they learned that he had tragically fallen into a slicing machine, which turned on and ended his life. Lily continues, explaining that the press reported that parts of his body were mixed in with the pickles, and as a result, sales in the market dropped sharply because of the rumor. Ever since then, people have bullied her in this cruel way. Lily snaps out of her memories, overwhelmed with sadness and longing for Matty, remembering how much he used to comfort her. Suddenly, she hears his voice humming nearby, and when she follows the sound, she realizes it's coming from the sink. She approaches cautiously, begging him to show himself if this is some kind of prank, because she misses him more than anything. All of a sudden, Lily sees a finger emerging, covered in blood, which completely terrifies her. But within seconds, everything disappears, and there's absolutely no trace of blood left in the sink at all. The very next day, we see her meeting up with Phil and Teddy at the same abandoned place Matty had once shown her. She tells them everything that happened the night before, and while Phil, as usual, isn't interested and dismisses it as nothing more than hallucinations, Teddy is fully convinced and believes her, because he simply can't accept that his friend vanished from their lives forever. He tells Phil that what happened feels real to him, but Lily doesn't welcome Teddy's way of thinking, asking how he can just feel it and not be certain. Then she leaves them and walks away. That night, while Teddy is in his room, the power cuts out only in the area around him, and every time he turns on a light source, it immediately shuts off again. Suddenly, he notices the outline of a figure forming on the lampshade beside him, and as he focuses on it, fear takes over. When he tries to back away, the figure starts moving toward him. Teddy begins screaming at the top of his lungs until his parents rush into the room. But by then, everything has already vanished. Just like Lily did before, Teddy later meets up with them at the same place and tells them everything that happened to him. Despite their young age, they decide to dig deeper into Maddie's disappearance, and they really wish they hadn't, especially Phil, who wasn't convinced at all. But in the end, fear gets the better of him, and he tells them that now it's his turn and they have to do something. We then see them gathering newspaper articles and reports written by the press about Maddie's disappearance, and they discover that the last person to see him was a movie theater employee named Ronnie. They go to her immediately, but she tells them that unfortunately she has nothing new to say and asks them to leave her out of the whole thing because her family could be harmed. They don't understand why she said that at all. But as they're walking away, she overhears them talking about how all of this started because of a song they heard in the sewers. Ronnie calls out to them and tells them that the same thing happened to her as well. And since she wants to put an end to this nightmare, she suggests that they join forces to try and find a solution together. Their first step is to go back to the same movie theater, sit in the same screening room, and watch the same film, hoping it might lead them to something, especially since the humming they heard in Maddie's voice was the same melody featured in the movie he had watched. We see them there, and we're suddenly confronted with their cryptic confessions, which are deeply unsettling and not entirely clear, like one of them saying he regrets that he could have stopped him from doing what he did to himself. Another saying she never should have pushed him and should have helped him instead. And the last one wishing they had visited him on his birthday like he had asked. At this point, we begin to understand why Maddie was so alone and so desperate to leave the town of Dry altogether. It becomes clear that the ghost of their actions has decided to confront them, which we realize when Maddie appears in the film alongside the family he rode with at the very beginning, the ones who promised to take him out of the town. Maddie is holding their newborn, the monstrous child, in his arms, and he starts speaking to them, telling them that he's with this family because of them, because they took advantage of his loneliness. Suddenly, his voice changes. His laughter turns terrifying, and without warning, he throws the baby at them. The creature bursts out of the screen, attacks the parents, and brutally kills them. It then turns toward Lily, but Ronnie steps in to help her, and they manage to escape, with Ronnie slamming the door shut tightly so it can't attack them again. In that very moment, Lily is horrified when she realizes she's holding an arm in her hands, and she lets out a piercing scream from sheer shock. The next day, the police begin monitoring Ronnie's family home, since this is now the second incident she's been present for and a witness to what happened. They start suspecting her family, partly because they're people of color, and at that time there was intense prejudice and hatred against them. What's even more shocking is that, according to the officers, there are absolutely no traces left at the crime scene. The movie theater is spotless, as if no massacre ever took place. Because of that, Ronnie's father decides not to let her go back to work at the cinema and plans to transfer her to another school as well, because he can't bear the thought of losing his daughter. When she goes to school, all the students keep talking about her, but Lily stands by her side and supports her, knowing that they're treating her unfairly. It quickly becomes clear that this school is full of cruel, ill-mannered kids, because even the new boy on his very first day pulls a chair out from under someone. Despite that, he seems surprisingly calm and sensible, which we realize later when we see him at home with his parents as they ask if anyone bothered him at school. Since it was his first day, he simply answers no, not at all. This family has a story of its own that I'll explain later, but for now, what matters is Ronnie, whose life Maddie's ghost seems determined to completely destroy, even though it's not clear what she ever did to him in the first place. We see Ronnie terrified and panicking, hearing the voice of her deceased mother all around her, as if she's slipped into a parallel world, or as if she's been pulled back into her mother's womb, wrapped and surrounded by a strange, enclosing form. She struggles desperately, trying to save herself and snap out of it, but suddenly her mother's head appears and threatens her, telling her that just as she ruined her life and turned it into misery, her father will face the same fate because of her. Her mother then starts dragging her toward her, as if trying to force her back into the womb all over again, while a horrifying mouth opens wide, ready to swallow her. As Ronnie fights back and screams at the top of her lungs, her family bursts into the room, but they don't see anything at all. Ronnie is completely unharmed, with no blood or injuries on her body. The very next day, Ronnie tells Lily everything that happened and also explains that the police are accusing her father. Lily, already breaking down, tells her that she didn't say anything when the police questioned her because no one would ever believe that a monster came out of a movie screen and attacked them. Ronnie doesn't accept that answer. She yells at Lily and insists that she has to tell the truth because otherwise her father will be the one who pays the price. Lily explains that she had a powerful reason to stay silent, reminding her that she had been institutionalized before and has no intention of ending up in a psychiatric facility again. A heated argument breaks out between them, and in the end, Ronnie is the one who gets punished. While serving her punishment in class, Ronnie meets the new boy, who introduces himself as Will. He tells her that he's being punished too, even though he's innocent and didn't do anything wrong. What surprises Ronnie is that he's calmly using the time to read a book just for enjoyment. Meanwhile, the police return to Lily once again, and the officer keeps pressuring her to confess, warning her in a threatening tone that she might need to go back to a psychiatric hospital to calm herself down. Terrified, Lily begins to fall apart, begging him to believe her and insisting that Ronnie's father has nothing to do with any of this. The officer keeps asking her over and over whether Ronnie's father did something, clearly determined to pin the entire case on him. Finally, he tells her this is the last time he'll ask and demands to know if she's absolutely sure Ronnie's father wasn't with them. Unfortunately, Lily stays silent, and immediately after that, Ronnie's father is arrested. Ronnie goes to Lily's house completely shattered, accusing her and saying, "Are you happy now? Are you satisfied that you lied just to save yourself?" No matter how hard Lily tries to explain herself while breaking down, Ronnie doesn't give her a chance to speak. Lily thinks that this is the end of it, that everything is over, and she can go back to living her life normally, unaware of what's waiting for her next. The following day, Lily is casually walking down the street and heads into a supermarket when she suddenly hears an indistinct humming sound. At first, it's unclear, but as she focuses, she realizes it's whispering to her that she's going to pay for what she's done. Lily becomes extremely tense, and the place around her starts to feel like a volcano about to erupt. The store's microphone calls out her name. The space around her feels like it's closing in, as if it's preventing her from leaving, and the faces of her friends who were with her at the cinema begin appearing everywhere around her. Even her father shows up, trapped inside a jar of pickles. Suddenly, everything collapses. The shelves fall, the power flickers on and off violently, and Lily is completely paralyzed, unable to face what's happening or even escape. She can't understand what's going on or why it's happening, and she struggles just to breathe. In the middle of all this, a grotesque creature forms out of nothing and starts approaching her. Its appearance is so horrifying that she shuts her eyes in terror, but when she opens them again, she's shocked to find that nothing happened at all. The place is perfectly normal. The shelves are intact, and the people around her are just standing there, confused and wondering what's wrong with her. What Lily feared most, and what ultimately happens because of her, is that she's sent back to the psychiatric hospital due to doubts about her mental stability. Through all these strange events, it becomes clear that the entire mystery is rooted in the town of Dry. We then jump back in time to the year 1908, where we see a young boy entering a circus. Before he goes in, the ringmaster warns him, saying, "Be careful, nothing you're about to see will comfort you. Everything inside is terrifying beyond what the mind can bear." When the boy enters, it feels like a house of horrors, with everything around him deeply unsettling. The most terrifying moment comes when an old man suddenly appears out of nowhere, holding candles, which frightens the boy badly. Before we learn who this man is or why his story matters, we quickly return to the present. But don't forget him and pay close attention to what comes next. Back in the present, we see Lily at the psychiatric hospital after spending a few days there, where doctors determine that she's mentally stable. As she's leaving, she says goodbye to a woman she befriended inside and confesses that she feels she wronged Ronnie's father deeply. At the same time, he's sitting in a jail cell, with the detective firmly convinced that he committed the crime. The officer even presents what he believes is solid evidence, claiming that the same brand of cigarettes Ronnie's father smokes was found at the cinema. Despite this, the father insists on his innocence, repeating that he didn't do anything. As for Ronnie, the students at school take things even further, mocking her with cruel messages written on her locker and hostile stares everywhere she goes. When Lily notices what's happening, she follows Ronnie into the bathroom and tells her everything, what happened at the supermarket and about the time she spent in the psychiatric hospital. Even though Ronnie refuses to accept a single word from her, Lily doesn't back down. She suggests that they start recording what's happening to them, so people will believe them and, more importantly, to prove her father's innocence. They immediately go to Will and ask for his help uploading the footage. Will, who has already become friends with a boy named Rachel, decides to join them, and the three of them come together. We then see them all gathered with Lily at the same abandoned location once again. After they finally understand everything, Rachel explains to them that he's fully aware of this story, tells them that his own family went through something similar. He assures them that what they're dealing with is nothing more than a ghost that takes the form of its victims. And he advises them that the only way forward is to summon it, so they can capture it on camera and prove the truth to the police. He even suggests that he should be the one to play the bait. They all meet up at a cemetery and perform certain rituals exactly as Rachel instructed, but it soon becomes clear that he actually has no real experience with any of this and is really only good at doing photo shoots in graveyards. Will, from the beginning, is uncomfortable with what's happening because from a scientific point of view, there's no such thing as ghosts. He tells them outright that he never believed any of this and that he only came along to support them. Before they can leave, as always, disaster strikes again. This time, it's worse than ever. Instead of a single creature attacking them, multiple spirits surround them at once. They do their best to keep taking photos, while Will decides to continue filming. Suddenly, he hears a terrifying sound coming from inside one of the graves along the pathway. He starts recording without seeing what's happening or knowing what the source of the sound looks like. Then he runs as fast as he can with the rest of the group. They finally manage to get out alive and immediately rush to develop the photos. The pictures clearly capture the ghosts attacking them, all of them unmistakably shaped like their friends who had already died. Strangely enough, Maddie isn't among them. The only photo Will took without actually seeing what he was photographing turns out to show a completely different creature, something unlike anything they'd encountered before. They rush to the police as fast as they can to prove what happened to them. When the officer looks at the photos, he confirms that they were indeed taken in the cemetery and in the exact locations they described, but there's nothing unusual visible in them at all. For example, where they claim there's a ghost next to a grave, the photo only shows the grave itself, and so on, until he reaches the final image, the one Will took. He notices the faint features of what looks like a clown, but quickly dismisses it as nothing more than a statue. He firmly tells them not to bring this up again, and to leave the case to the police, since they've already arrested the suspect. Meaning Ronnie's father, of course. Later on, Will's mother finds out what happened to him the night he was at the cemetery, and she completely breaks down. Will explains that he was helping his friends and tells her everything about Ronnie. Wanting to support her son, she asks her husband to make some time and talk to Will. The father takes him out fishing and gently asks if there's a girl he likes or feels attracted to. While they're fishing, the father steps away to grab something from their gear in the car. Suddenly, Will sees his father's body appear from beneath the water, horribly distorted, as it grabs him and drags him under. When the real father notices Will struggling, he rushes back and nearly drowns himself trying to save him. At that moment, a red balloon, just like a clown's balloon, appears. Will later tells his father that what he saw looked exactly like him at the time of his plane crash, with the same injuries, and the wounds on Will's own arm prove that something truly attacked him. From here, we begin to learn the full story of Will's family, discovering that his father's name is Lynn, a flight officer working at the Dry City Air Base, a post that requires extensive experience because of how demanding the job is. From the very first moment Lynn joins the other officers, he's subjected to harassment by one of them simply because he's dark-skinned, as we mentioned before. At that point, the general himself steps in and stands up for him, then begins explaining why they specifically requested Lynn by name. The reason is that they're developing a highly dangerous aircraft at the moment, meant for special operations, and they couldn't find anyone more qualified than him to test it and provide an accurate evaluation. That night, Lynn is attacked at the base housing where he's staying. The attackers are wearing strange masks and order him to tell them everything he knows about the aircraft the general just mentioned. They threaten his life in exchange for the information, but one of the officers who transferred with him manages to save him in time. Later, however, Lynn discovers that the general himself sent those men to test his level of loyalty. He's then shocked to learn that the real reason for his presence has nothing to do with the aircraft at all, but he's told he won't learn the truth yet. For now, all he has to do is follow orders and carry them out until they decide he's ready to know what's really going on. Eventually, the time comes, and the general is taken to a secret laboratory, where Lynn learns that what they're working on is meant to help them reach a creature that has been threatening the town of Dry for many years. At that moment, Lynn realizes he's gotten himself involved in something far bigger than he can handle, especially since his family is living with him in the same place. It seems the creature senses what they're trying to do, because it begins sending warnings, like when they discover a car containing bodies that have been decomposing for many years. The general's assistant explains the story behind the car, telling him that it once belonged to a family the creature killed long ago because they were searching for it. This is meant as a warning. If they look for it too, it will destroy them as well. Despite this, the general remains unmoved and insists that Lynn take part in this extremely dangerous mission. We then briefly jump even further back in time, this time into the general's own past, and we discover that he's the same young boy we saw earlier at the circus. Continuing his story, we learn that after the strange old man appeared to him, he ran out of the circus in terror and went to his father. His father gave him a slingshot, telling him so he'd never be afraid of anyone again and could hurt anyone who bothered him. Excellent parenting, obviously. Not his words, just our team's analysis. Later, as he's heading home with his father, their car breaks down and his father asks him to go fetch some water. He completely forgets that he needs money, and when he goes to buy it, he realizes he doesn't have enough. He offers the girl selling the water his slingshot in exchange. Her name is Rose. Time passes, and he and Rose become close friends. One day, while he's running around, he wanders into a certain part of the forest. Strangely, Rose seems to sense that something dangerous is waiting inside and keeps calling out to him to come back. But he stubbornly ignores her, just like he does when he's older. Old habits die hard. Suddenly, the same old man appears again, and we realize this is where he lives. He attacks the boy, transforming into a strange monster with multiple limbs. At that moment, we discover that this is the very creature the general is searching for in the present timeline. The monster is about to kill him, but Rose arrives just in time and saves him using the slingshot. They manage to escape, and it's revealed that not only Rose, but the entire village knows the creature lives in that forest and has learned to coexist with it. Days and months pass, and eventually it's time for Rose to say goodbye to the future general. She makes him promise never to forget her, but not in the normal sense. She explains that anyone who leaves the village has their memories erased. Rose gives the general back his slingshot, but unfortunately, ever since it struck the creature, a strange bond was formed between the weapon and the monster. We then return once again to the present, where we see Lynn meeting an officer who has just joined them, named Harrow. Harrow is supposed to help them locate the creature using a very unique method, although we don't fully understand what that method is until he boards the aircraft. Inside his hand, he's holding a box containing the general's slingshot. As soon as he touches it, he begins seeing himself in a completely different place, and he starts giving them precise directions on where they need to fly in order to reach the creature. Through his special abilities, ones he was born with, Harrow finds himself inside a place resembling an abandoned cave or a long corridor filled with the bodies of countless children. It's exactly like what the clown is known for doing, the one that supposedly appears every 27 years to slaughter large numbers of young boys and girls, growing stronger by feeding on their fear. In his vision, Harrow tries to save himself and escape, but in reality, his body is opening the aircraft's hatch. Lynn manages to save him just in time, and they realize that the creature the general wants to control is the same one that entered Harrow's mind, trying to push him to kill himself. From that moment on, Harrow and Lynn become close friends. This gives us a clearer picture of Will's story and the important people around him, starting with Harrow, whom Lynn turns to and tells everything that happened with his son, hoping for reassurance. Harrow doesn't lie to him and confirms that Will is not safe, advising Lynn to leave the town as soon as possible. After that, Harrow goes to interrogate one of the villagers from the place where the general encountered the creature as a child. When the man refuses to talk, Harrow enters his mind and sees him as a child, where his story finally unfolds. To summarize a long story, this creature appeared hundreds of years ago inside a meteor. When the meteor fell to Earth, it shattered into pieces, and those fragments became the only thing capable of restraining the creature. When the village was first settled by the original inhabitants, they chose to confront the monster. Their leader took a fragment of the meteor so he could stand against it, and they struck a deal. The creature would never leave the forest where it attacked the general, and in return, they wouldn't harm it or hunt within that land. Later on, new settlers arrived and broke the pact by hunting and exploiting the area. As a result, the creature turned on them and wiped them all out. The The remaining original villagers then decided to gather more fragments of the meteor by any means necessary, surrounding the area where the creature was trapped, which eventually became the entire town of Dry. That's why the monster can never leave Dry. Through his abilities, Harrow is able to locate the meteor fragments, limiting the creature's range even further and making it possible to control it. When Harrow sees the truth, he realizes that the creature is the clown itself, capable of taking any form it wants. Since it feeds on children's fear, it lures them in by appearing as a clown. Harrow relays all of this information to the general. Meanwhile, back at school, one of Lily's classmates teams up with some of the other students to play a cruel prank on her. They convince her that someone has a crush on her, only to humiliate and bully her afterward. Suddenly, something horrifying happens. Her eyes begin to bulge out of her face, and no matter how hard she tries, she can't control them. In a moment of sheer terror, she even tries to cut them out, and she actually does. Just as she's about to cut out her second eye, Lily arrives and tries to save her. But from a distance, the other students see something completely different from what's really happening. So that her classmate wouldn't be blamed for what happened, she tells the doctors at the hospital the truth, explaining that Lily was trying to save her, not hurt her. From that moment on, she decides to stick by Lily's side to support her and make her feel less alone. Lily takes her to their secret hideout, and that's when they're shocked to find Maddie there. He's clearly been through severe torture, and he tells them that the one who had been holding him captive was the clown. He explains that the clown lives in the sewers and truly feeds on their fear. He goes on to confirm that their friends are already dead, and that he only managed to escape by taking advantage of the time when the clown sleeps, since it sleeps during the day and wakes up at night. At the same time, the moment arrives for Ronnie's father to be transferred to prison. One of the victims' relatives tries to kill him since he's considered the main suspect in the children's disappearance case, but the police manage to save him in time. Lynn's wife is standing there and witnesses everything. And we learn that she had previously gone to see Ronnie's father, offering to defend him and encouraging him to stand his ground. Elsewhere, we see Rose as an adult going to the general to warn him about what he's trying to do, telling him that he'll never be able to control the creature. We also see her visiting the villager who was being interrogated, strongly implying that he shouldn't confess to anything. Strangely, he already knows very well that Harrow entered his mind and discovered the locations of the meteor fragments. During a critical meeting at the military base, it's revealed that the house containing the meteor fragments is built over an old sewer system, and the forces are immediately mobilized and sent there. At the same time, the kids also manage to reach the location, hoping to save whoever might still be alive and to prove Ronnie's father's innocence to the police. The soldiers are warned that anything they see could be nothing more than hallucinations, and that the creature can easily take the form of someone close to them. That's exactly what happens. The first to experience it is Harrow, as the creature appears to him in the form of his grandmother and grandfather. His grandfather urges him to open a box, while his grandmother begs him not to, warning him not to believe them. After several attempts, the grandfather kills the grandmother. The box opens, and terrifying laughter fills the place. As for Lynn, his wife appears in front of him, but he immediately realizes it's just another illusion created by the creature, so he shoots her. Meanwhile, the kids discover Maddie's body in the water, which means the one who was with them was actually the clown, not their friend. In the middle of their panic, Maddie's body keeps singing and repeating the same lyrics from the movie theater song, until the clown finally reveals itself in front of them. They all run away screaming. Unfortunately, Lynn then sees his son standing in front of him and decides to shoot, thinking it's another illusion, like the one where his wife appeared, even though his colleague keeps insisting that it's real. Tragically, the bullet hits his colleague instead because he tried to protect Will. As for Lily, she's holding a fragment of the meteor by pure coincidence, using it as a sharp object to defend herself. But she's shocked when the creature recoils from it and backs away in fear. Meanwhile, the transport vehicle carrying Ronnie's father overturns, and he's the only one who manages to escape alive while the others die. He then runs into his former lover, who turns out to be Santi, the woman Lily met at the psychiatric hospital. Finally, Harrow returns to headquarters with his companions and discovers that Ronnie's father is there as well. They've allowed him to stay with them because they believe in his innocence and want to help him. Back at Lynn's house, he yells at his son, blaming him for everything that happened, telling him that if he hadn't gone with his friends to the creature's territory, his colleague would still be alive. In a moment of uncontrollable anger, Lynn slaps him for the first time in his life. As for Ronnie, she finally goes to her father, and the moment she sees him, she's overwhelmed with joy and runs straight into his arms. At the same time, Lily is at school, still deeply affected by her encounter with the clown. Unable to cope, she leaves class and goes to Santi's house, the woman she met at the psychiatric hospital. While she's there, Lily wanders into a locked room and discovers old photographs of the clown, along with many pieces of his costume that he always appears in. Terrified, she starts to panic, and Santi tries to calm her down, promising that she'll explain everything. We then jump back in time to when Santi was working at the psychiatric hospital. She once heard a young girl say that the clown came to visit her every night. Trying to comfort the child, Santi took her along to check if what she was saying was true. To her horror, her deceased father appeared in his true form, took the child from her, and killed her. Standing at the door, he told Santi that if she wanted to see him again and have him live with her, she would have to bring him more children like that. From that moment on, Santi began luring children to him so he could feed on them. Snapping out of her memories, she looks at Lily with madness in her eyes and asks her, if hugging your father meant sacrificing children, would you do it or not? Lily is horrified, bolts out of the house, and runs as fast as she can. Meanwhile, the soldiers gather the rest of Ronnie's friends, trying to convince her to come with them back into the sewers to finish the clown once and for all, especially since they now have a piece of the meteor that the creature can't withstand. We then get another flashback, this time to learn the story of the clown and his daughter, because it becomes clear that Santi was the one who tipped off the officer about Ronnie's father's location, allowing her to control the victims freely, one funeral after another, satisfying her hunger for grief and suffering. We see the clown standing there, happy as young boys and girls dance around him, with Santi watching proudly. Strangely, he appears gentle and kind. One night, a small boy approaches him and says in an odd tone, "I can't find my mom. Can you help me look for her?" The clown is about to brush him off without much interest, when suddenly they hear screams coming from the forest, the same forest where the creature lives. The boy insists that the screams are his mother's voice, so the clown takes the boy by the hand and follows him toward the sound. After that, nothing is left of the clown except his blood-soaked handkerchief. From that moment on, the creature takes on the clown's form, and as we explained earlier, it disappears and reappears every 27 years. Back in the present, Ronnie's father decides to turn himself in so no one else gets hurt because of him. But the officer forgets that they're in a place that's practically a military base. He leaves quietly with his men, and within seconds, Harrow and everyone with him realize they've been trapped inside the house. From the outside, gasoline is thrown all around them, and in an instant, flames engulf the place, surrounding them from every direction. Most of the people inside lose their lives. Harrow is stunned to find that the only things he can see around him are the spirits of those who were killed, and one of those spirits points him toward a possible way out. As for Santi, she finds him standing in front of her, feeding on her husband's head, yet she still believes he's her father even now. She confesses to him that she was the one who tipped off the police and gave them Ronnie's father's location, after she herself convinced him to hide at Harrow's place so a disaster would happen and everyone would destroy each other, because she knows how much he truly enjoys that. He hugs her as if he really were her father and gently tells her to take care of herself because he's going to sleep and won't be waking up anytime soon. She clings to his hand, unwilling to let go, but finally snaps out of the trance she was in and realizes he isn't her father at all. She panics and asks him, "What did you do to him? Where is he?" The creature, completely fearless, brazenly replies, "Yeah, that wasn't him. I ate him a long time ago, and now it's your turn." He opens his mouth, releasing a strange light that takes control of the victim standing before him, and she's completely unable to resist. The next day, when morning comes and the ambulances arrive, there's a sense of death and decay hanging in the air as they rush to treat the survivors, including Santi, who stares at everyone around her in a deeply unsettling way. Harrow then tells Lynn that the spirits are surrounding him in a terrifying manner, constantly speaking to him about everything, because he can now see them, and that's exactly what he feared would happen ever since he opened the box in the sewers. The original villagers gather together and declare that the omen has arrived, meaning the return of the clown that appeared reappears every 27 years, which also means it will soon disappear again if they don't manage to destroy it. We then see Lynn and his wife visiting Rose, hoping she can tell them a safe way for Ronnie and her father to escape dry for good. At that moment, the villager whose mind Harrow entered shows up and tells them that the military base has found a fragment of the meteor and taken it, even though the creature is supposed to be disappearing during this period. Lynn immediately heads to the base and threatens them with his gun. The general appears and confronts Lynn with the truth. Lynn now knows that he isn't doing all of this for the sake of the town's people, but purely to use the creature for political interests. The general wants to destroy part of the meteor to wake the monster again, and that's exactly what happens. Lynn doesn't manage to stop them, and they burn the fragment. The creature awakens once more, just when we thought we were finally rid of its horrifying presence. Back at Lynn's house, we see Will talking to his friend, who tells him about the moment their classmate died right in front of her. But Will suddenly realizes that no one actually saw how their friend died, and he understands that the one speaking to him is the clown. The clown appears behind him and starts moving closer. Will tries to show that he isn't afraid, but the creature can smell the fear and terror on him, allowing it to control him just like it did with Santi. From there, the clown begins taking control of the entire town. We're shocked to see it covered in thick fog, part of its performance, pretending to be concerned for the students at school. An announcement is made that classes are canceled, and the younger students are instructed to head to the auditorium, making it easier for the creature to control them. The older students would be harder to overpower and might be able to resist. Inside the theater, the school principal greets them warmly and pretends to put on a show mocking the clown. Suddenly, the clown appears in front of them for real and kills the principal. The boys and girls are terrified and try to run for their lives, but all the doors are tightly locked. The clown begins luring them with its humming, releasing the same beam of light it always uses to control its victims, that taking over all of them and leading them toward a specific location in broad daylight, because this is the final limit of its power. Meanwhile, Ronnie and her friends notice the thick fog spreading through the town, and when they head out, they find posters hanging everywhere with photos of their classmates labeled as missing. The number is terrifyingly large, and the real shock comes when they see Will's photo among them. It becomes clear that the clown did this on purpose to lure them in as well. And that's exactly what happens. They start following the trail of blood he deliberately left behind and end up getting into a car that just happens to be parked along their way. At the same time, Lynn calls to check on his son, who still hasn't come home from school, but instead he's shocked to hear the clown's voice on the line, calmly telling him that his son is safe and sound, so there's no need to worry. He's just using him as bait until Lynn comes to him. Lynn snaps completely. Or rather, this is the moment he truly breaks. With no other option left, he rushes to Harrow for help. But Harrow, overwhelmed by the constant presence of spirits around him, has already decided to end his own life because he can't live like this anymore. Lynn bursts in and stops him just in time, then shocks him with the truth that his son has already gone straight to the creature's lair. He begs Harrow to help him, promising that once his son is saved, he'll do absolutely anything Harrow asks, even if that means killing him himself. At the military base, the general learns that Harrow and Lynn have moved to confront the creature, and he's furious. He's been waiting for this moment, thrilled that the monster has finally returned, and now he wants to bring them down. Back with Lynn and Harrow, they go to Rose to ask her about a solution. Lynn's wife is there too, and she breaks down, blaming him for everything, telling him that bringing them to dry was his decision. Rose tries to calmly analyze the situation and convinces Harrow that they need to find out who currently has the meteor fragment and where it is, because that's the only thing capable of stopping the creature. That fragment is actually with Lily. Rose promises Harrow that if he helps them, she'll be able to fix the problem of the spirits haunting him. She gives him something to drink, and through his vision, he sees that what they're looking for is indeed with Lily. Meanwhile, the girls are arguing over it because on their way they were involved in a minor accident and the fragment fell out of Lily's possession. On the road, Rose explains to Ronnie's father that whoever is holding the meteor-like fragment will unfortunately begin to hallucinate, seeing things that aren't real. The fragment wants to return to its original place, and the farther it gets from it, the more it loses its power, and its effect on the monster weakens as well. Exactly what Rose warns them about begins to happen. Lily starts fighting with her friend, convinced they're bullying her, even though they haven't said a word. Eventually, they realize it's all a trick, regain their clarity, and continue on their way. They finally reach Will and try to snap him out of the trance he's under. But suddenly blood starts pouring into the lake from everywhere. Without warning, the clown appears, even though they're holding the glowing meteor fragment that offers them some protection. Still, the clown circles around them relentlessly, trying to terrify them even more. He grabs one of the girls and tells her, "I can see the future. You're going to grow up, get married, and have a child. The one who will finally kill me, and I won't allow that to happen. So I'm ending your life right now." Just as he's about to devour her, he suddenly freezes in place. She doesn't hesitate for a second. She breaks free and runs back to her friends. This moment becomes the shock that wakes all the students who were under the clown's control through his beam of light. It turns out Harrow has entered the creature's mind and managed to restrain it temporarily. Lynn arrives and quickly gets the children out of there. But at that moment, officers from the military base show up and attack him. Lynn is shot in the leg, and from a distance, the base forces try to capture all the children, planning to use them as bait for the monster. But Lynn tells his son to drive the meteor-like fragment he's holding into the tree standing in the river. Meanwhile, the general approaches the clown, confused as he sees it frozen in place like a statue. He keeps trying to free it, and eventually he succeeds, but the magic backfires on the magician. The general thinks he's done something noble, acting like a hero, telling it, "I'm the one who freed you. Go on, get out of here and escape." But the clown smells his fear, transforms into the same monstrous form that appeared to him years ago in the forest with Rose, and kills him on the spot. So much for political schemes saving anyone. As for Lynn, he tries desperately to stop the clown, firing multiple shots at it, but he can't kill it. Instead, the clown turns its beam on him and begins to control him as well. On the other side, the children gather together to plant the fragment they're carrying. In response to fear, the creature sprouts wings and flies toward them, trying to stop them, but it's already too late. They manage to complete what needs to be done, and prison-like barriers rise from all directions. The clown reverts to its true monstrous form and disappears behind those barriers. Days pass, and everything slowly returns to normal, just as it was before. We see Santi finally where she belongs, in a psychiatric hospital. In another hospital, we meet a strange woman who arrives to check on a new patient. She gently reassures her, saying, "Don't be afraid. In the end, we all return to dry."